Trump is considering Ron DeSantis as a replacement for Pete Hegseth.
Oh, he's trying to Mitt Romney the situation.
100%.
Getting a guy that he defeated and humiliated to come to heel. And you know what's going to happen? He's going to publicly float Ron DeSantis for defense secretary. And there is, I'm saying this now, 0% chance that he follows through on that.
Well, I wouldn't get.
No, wait,
Matt's like, wait a second, is that back?
No. Okay, I'm
back
sorry.
To the old me.
I immediately am back. I'm that Bugs Bunny meme. Back to the old me, making predictions. No, not 0% chance.
5%.
5%. I'm basically trying to say that, like, my guess is that he's trying to humiliate Ron DeSantis with this.
I mean, let's be clear. It's probably a situation where it's like, this is a twofer for me. I'm mad at Pete because he's causing me problems, and I still hate Ron. Little Ron. But here is Pete Hegseth. And this was, when did he do this? When did he tweet this out? This was, he wrote, this was this morning, 7:42 a.m. I'm doing this for the war fighters, not the war mongers.
Can you remind me of Trump's latest appointment that you just headlined? Defense lobbyist?
Well, I mean, Marco Rubio is by without a doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. You're doing this for the war fighters, not the war mongers. And he said, and he writes, the left is afraid of disruptors and change agents. They are afraid of real Donald Trump and me. So they smear with fake anonymous sources and BS stories. They don't want truth. Our warriors never back down, and neither will I. Now, a couple of things. Let's leave this up here if we can. Let's just go through this because this is a very intricate tweet. I'm doing this for the war fighters, not the war mongers. What was it he was chanting when he gets drunk, like death to all Muslims or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I guess that's not, I don't know if that constitutes warmongering. Maybe it's just, aspirational for him. The left is afraid of disruptors and change agents. Let me tell you how much ability the left has to keep Pete Hegseth from taking that seat. Like actual power. 0. That is not a prediction. That is just simply a fact. There's nobody on the, I mean, to the extent that you want to say that anybody in the Senate, in the incoming Senate is a leftist, and if people can, you can have your own arguments about that. There is still 0 ability.
What if I say Pete Hegseth's ex-wife is a leftist?
Or his mother, for that matter.
Well, that's the other thing. They smear with fake anonymous sources and BS stories. Let's play this clip. This is clip number 3. And apparently one of those fake stories was written by Pete Hegseth's mom.
Back in 2018. So, I mean, God, AI must have been really advanced back then, right?
Well, I don't think she's denied that she sent it, and she CC'd it to Pete Hegseth. Let me see if I can get this right. Second wife that he cheated on.
Got a Fox News employee pregnant. I think that's what was the who's now his third wife, but that's why his mother sent that email saying that he was a abuser of women. And
let's be clear, there is every reason to believe that in this instance, when he impregnated that third woman, that it was consensual.
Yes.
There is no reason, and I think that you have to be clear about that when it comes to Hegseth. There is no reason to believe that his relationship with his third wife started in any other way other than consensual. Now, that doesn't mean that it was. It just means that there's no reason to believe it, like in other circumstances.
Right. No police report this time.
Right. And so here is Pete Hegseth's mom, Penelope Hegseth. And sometimes, like, you think your son's a loser, your son's a scumbag. And then, well, down the road, he gets appointed to a position you never thought in a million years. And then you have to sort of, flip on that.
Pete's mother, Penelope Hegseth, joins us live on the set to tell us what she wanted to tell us. You called us yesterday and you said you wanted to come on.
I did. I said I would do anything for my son.
I completely get this. You never in a million years thought you would be doing this.
No.
Because you didn't realize that this email you wrote in 2018, somebody leaked it to the New York Times.
Correct.
And they printed it.
Correct.
I'm going to read part of it. You say, this is to Pete during the 2018 divorce. You say, I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, and sleeps around. And you go on and say, you are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is a sad, sad truth. You say,
I'm sorry.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. He skipped over some of the best parts of that email.
First of all, I've got to say they do a one-on-one with Ducey and her on Fox and Friends. That's got to be the first time I've seen that, right? No Kilmeade, no Ainsley.
Oh no, they do this sometimes.
But I think it does seem clear that he's the most respectable and gentle of that group. So they're doing a one-on-one thing.
Well, also to be fair, I mean, we don't know what Ducey thought of his son, and then that may have he had to flip that around.
But this is Hegseth's former employer / current. I mean, he's been a Fox and Friends weekend host up to this period. So
it's a good point, because she's going to say look at who my son was years ago when he was working at your channel.
So this is a situation in which this woman, his mother, who wrote this email calling him an abuser of women, which Ducey leaves out that part, at least for right now.
The abridged version.
She is going on television at the place where he works, and presumably will work again if he is forced to withdraw, to basically run cover for him because he's about to be potentially one of the most powerful people in the country.
Well, he's going to be running one of the world's largest entity, but
yeah.
But I just feel bad because Ducey is not reminding Mom of all the good parts in the email. It's time for someone. I wish it were a strong man. Okay. To stand up to your abusive behavior and call it out, especially against women, she wrote. We still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and lack of character. If the email damages our relationship further, she added, so be it. Okay. Son, I have tried to keep quiet about your character and behavior, but after listening to the way you made Samantha feel today, I cannot stay silent. So this has been an ongoing thing for her over through 2018. And she just got fed up. What was the other part that Ducey must have mistakenly skipped over?
Truncated.
Where was the rest of that? It was
maybe the context of the fact that
yeah, here it is. On behalf of all the women, and I know it's many you have abused in some way, I say get some help and take an honest look at yourself. I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it's the sad, sad truth. All right, let's just go back and see if Ducey gets this all right.
Correct.
And they printed it.
Correct.
I'm going to read part of it. You say, this is to Pete during the 2018 divorce. You say, I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, and sleeps around. And you go on and say, you are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is a sad, sad truth. You say, we still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and your lack of character. Mm-hmm. When you wrote that,
brazen.
What's the backstory? What was going on that made you so angry you wanted to write that?
Well, I will tell that story in a moment, but let me make two statements first, and one is to President Trump. And I want to say thank you for your belief in my son. We all believe in him. We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. I'm not that mother. And I hope people will hear that story today and the truth of that story. So the other thing I want to say is I am here to tell the truth. to tell the truth to the American people and tell the truth to the senators on the Hill, especially our female senators. I really hope that you will not listen to the media and that you will listen to Pete.
Well, and you're here to tell us, because you are in the news now. So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. Well,
what was going on?
Right. Let's go back 7 years.
Pause it. Like 1 second. Let me just explain. First off, I think it's pretty obvious I'm a woman. So therefore, I'm unstable, and therefore I wrote the email. Well, like, who wants to take a guess on like what she's going to say here? I was so distraught. I had no idea what I was doing. I was completely out of control. Pete was always right about me.
I don't know where those thoughts came from that I put on that email.
Yeah, it's so strange. For so long, I was so deluded about Pete, and he had a miraculous turnaround. In fact, here's his ex-wife that, she didn't show up? That's weird.
Control F
Wonder
on
where that
letter.
email. Yeah.
Control F is abuse or abuser is said 4 times, not read once by Ducey, because this isn't a case of just philandering, which is what they're trying to pass this off as. There's a police report in another instance, and then in this instance, he said the email basically alleges that he impregnated another woman and then put the blame on his wife.
Alludes to like gaslighting sort of behavior and stuff like that.
Let's see what she says.
If we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But
Pause it for a second. I'm trying to think. 2018. Now, to be fair, I'm old. Maybe not as old as her. I don't know. We may be the same age. No. Yeah. Maybe somewhere. She's probably only a couple years older than me. And I can tell you that 7 years ago, I guess I wasn't I didn't have as much gray in my head. But we're not,
through line.
It's like, it's one thing if you say like, who amongst us cannot look back 25 years ago and say we were a different person? I feel like you could get away with that, but 7 years?
At no point in my life did my mother call me an abuser of women.
Oh, also, actually,
All right, stop bragging.
This might be a good opportunity to just pull up this tear sheet, and we'll get back to this from NBC News. Pete Hegseth's drinking worried colleagues at Fox News, sources tell NBC.
Do you know how much you have to drink to worry people at Fox News? They have Janine Pirro on staff.
Yeah, exactly. He came, when he showed up there, Larry Kudlow showed up very shortly after that. But the point being that one of the sources said, if you could scroll down just a couple of sentences. Here it is. Here we go. 2 of those people said on more than a dozen occasions during his time as co-host on Fox and Friends weekends. Now, incidentally, because the show's on weekends, you should know that there's only probably about like 45 of these shows a year that he's on. Right? I mean, so
there's only so many weekends.
If it's more than a dozen occasions, like how many times are you close enough to someone to smell booze? And then one quarter of the time.
300?
Incidentally, Fox and Friends weekend, this is not an evening show.
No.
Just FYI.
Morning.
And now look, I know an extraordinary amount of my friends are either active or recovered alcoholics. He came from the comedy world. And so that was, that happened. So I have I hope he gets help. But I also don't think he should necessarily be in charge of something like this, or maybe he should. I don't know. People can decide. But one of the sources said they smelled alcohol on him as recently as last month and heard him complain about being hungover this fall.
Think back to a month ago, and I think we can all agree we were different people.
Yes. Who amongst us can say that we were the same as we were 30 days ago? Now, in this case, it's actually true because we had the election somewhere in there. But all right, go back. I want to hear more from his mom. Sorry. And this is so I just want to say, it's not just maybe 7 years ago he was a different person, but also a month ago he didn't seem to be too different. Now maybe it's possible he stopped being abusive to women and just continued to day drink throughout the entire time.
I'd take that as an improvement.
Without a doubt. I would say, based upon my experience, it is highly unlikely that if he was abusive, so abusive to women that his mother basically said, I want to disown you, you disgust me so much, you're a scumbag. It's unlikely, unless he addressed his drinking issues, he had the opportunity to emotionally work through why he was so abusive to women. This is assuming, and I don't think it's for the sake of argument, but in real world, I wouldn't assume this, that the charges of him roofing and raping a woman are, untrue, that he's just, abusive in other ways. I find it hard to believe that he was able to wrestle with those emotional issues over the course of the 7 years if he's still day drinking. But, all right, let's hear what she says.
As you are in the news now. So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. Well,
what was going on?
Right. Let's go back 7 years, which if we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But they were going through, Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions.
Pause it. I'll just say, and you don't have to, you can keep her up there. I can just say, as someone who did go through a divorce, actually 7 years ago, right around the same time, I can tell you that I never received an email from my mom or even my ex-wife's mom saying that you are abusive towards women.
Yeah, doesn't divorce, and my parents got divorced. Basically, the families take usually the side of their child or their blood relative.
Well,
this is fairly atypical for the mother to take the side of the ex-wife and go as far as to say that her son is being abusive.
And so maybe if that email got retracted later on, maybe that's why people are like, hey, this is a problem. There's litigation. Maybe you want to, pull that. Well, let's just let her.
Things, and I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent, and about 2 hours later, I should. My husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more, but Pete and I are both very passionate.
In fact, my husband smacked me around a little bit. See, the point of everything I should do. Yes, of course. What happened was, Mom or wife, do you realize this is going to be used in court against Pete? Do you realize, how many court cases do you think Pete has to go through in his life?
God, she must have been hysterical. Really, the true person who was the bad actor in all of this is Penelope here for not listening to her husband.
She was emotional.
Saying as a mother, I wrote that. Yeah, that's why it's damning, because usually as a mother, you take the side of your husband, your son.
Or at the very least, you give them the benefit of the doubt.
I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent, and about 2 hours later, I should. My husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more.
I'm a ditz.
But Pete and I are both very passionate people. I wrote that out of love.
Pete.
And about 2 hours later.
Love. Pete and I are both passionate. For instance, I will write emails in haste, and Pete will be abusive to women. We're both passionate.
I feel for this woman. If you want to see what internalized misogyny looks like,
God.
listen to how she speaks. It's
my husband told me I need to think through things. This is
why white women voted for Trump.
Passionate people. I wrote that out of love. And about 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology
when I realized
email,
I didn't
but nobody's seen that. So it was a difficult time. I want to say something about the media. And part of today is to discredit the media and how they operate. When they contact you, I let a few phone calls go, but then they call you and say they threaten you. That's the first thing they do. Right. They say, unless you make a statement, we will publish it as is. And I think that's a despicable way.
Can you pause it?
What?
They asked her for comment. Yeah. They got the email from somebody else. The New York Times reached out to her to say, hey, this is standard journalistic practice. They said, we're going to publish this. Would you like to comment on it? And she's saying that's a threat. No,
Okay.
that's every journalist ever does that.
Now, I just want to be fair to her.
Yeah.
She said the media was acting despicably. But 2 hours later, she wrote back and said, I apologize. Yeah. So Pete Hegseth may be in a bit of trouble here. And if this doesn't do it, then I suspect this will do it. This was Pete Hegseth. This is the
K-file, Andrew Kaczynski of the K-file.
oh, right. This is number one, right?
Yeah.
Yes, this is, yep, exactly.
Okay.
This is particularly crucial when it comes to what role Trump is going to play in forcing this nomination, that Hegseth had a history of criticizing Trump. What did you find there?
Yeah, he was harshly critical of Trump in the 2016 Republican primary for lacking national security experience. He mocked Trump for relying on the cable news for military advice. He attacked Trump for opposing the Iraq war. He attacked Trump for saying the U.S. shouldn't have gone into Afghanistan, and then Trump reversed himself on that. Then he attacked Trump for flip-flopping.
Pause it for a second. It sounds like Hegseth was a warmonger.
Right. He criticized Donald Trump for criticizing the Iraq war, which, by the way, I will say, I think did play a part in him winning that Republican primary
100%.
by going after Jeb Bush in that way. And it's why the Democrats' Cheney embrace is just so infuriating. But like, he just tweeted, we just showed it, Hegseth saying the warmongers on the left are coming after me. You were criticizing the guy that's nominating you to be defense secretary just a few years ago about his stance on opposing the Iraq war.
Prem Talker over at Zateo did a read of his books, and he's actually, it turns out, a warmonger in those books as well.
Supports waterboarding,
weird.
torture, yep.
Trump reversed himself on that. Then he attacked Trump for flip-flopping. He really was arguing, and this sort of goes against, at the time at least, the whole America First idea. He really argued that Donald Trump was not hawkish enough on the military. Listen to him here.
You wouldn't want a top-tier presidential candidate getting all of their military advice from watching Meet the Press. There's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more
Pause
detail.
it. Don't take him down. You want your top tier, you want your actual president to get his advice from Fox and Friends, not Meet the Press, is what he meant to say.
Is that a tan suit? He must hate America.
Military advice from watching Meet the Press. There's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more detail. Foreign policy and national security is not about TV shows. They're going to have to walk back a little bit from this idea that he gets it from the political shows.
Oh, boy.
And look, that's not the only criticism we found. Some of them were deeply personal on Donald Trump. He even attacked him as a, quote, armchair tough guy. That was his quote. And
We have that clip. Let me...
Oh, boy.
Armchair tough guy.
Armchair tough guy.
We'll show you who's tough.
Well, my prediction is Pete Hegseth is probably gone by... It's Wednesday noon now. I'll say he's going to be gone within a day, if that long. But here he is, armchair tough guy.
Guy. I hate to say it, but this is a guy who said that John McCain
Emma's right. It's not going to be. It's not going to be
military deferment.
It's not going to be DeSantis. DeSantis is going to. Why don't you fly to Washington? Oh, I couldn't make the meeting. I'm sorry.
Right.
Ron, maybe next time you should have been a little bit nicer to me. Go ahead.
It's typical Trump. All bluster, very little substance. He talks a tough game, but then when pressed on it, he's an armchair tough guy. I hate to say it, but this is a guy who said that John McCain is not a war hero, yet he sought his own 5 military deferments.
Eek.
Gosh.
So yeah, Penelope, it's not really about that. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah, the whole rape thing was kind of a plus for me.
Going to say that was in the pros column. The cons column is different, but
Say less.
we shall see. Pete Hegseth. And here's the thing. Coincidentally, the incoming Trump administration has decided to greenlight FBI background checks for incoming staff. In other words,
Maybe you should have done that the first
we
time.
needed a little bit of vetting. I don't know. Next time we need to know if he's criticized me.
He looked the part, okay? He's got that Aryan thing I like.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.